I say about this film, it's a little bit bizarre. It's a bit bizarre to put it in an accounting lecture. But, well, first thing, it needs to be said, it's cool. I mean, it's absolutely perfectly well done. I mean, it sums up what Rocky IV is all about. In case you didn't know, it's from Rocky IV. And there's another movie like that, but it shows all Rocky's training sequences and the training montage for Rocky instead of for Ivan Drago. And Rocky is a very interesting film. What I'm trying to say with the video clip, put that aside, Rocky itself is a really interesting film because it sums up, in a very cheesy way, but it sums up an ideological battle between Russia and America. And it sums it up in a very, very action-based, almost comical way. But the trap it falls into is how slippery and slimy ideology can be. And so what we see is that in the beginning of the film, Rocky represents the West, and Ivan Drago represents the East. And you know, there's a dark cloud gathering over the Soviet Union as Ivan Drago trains and takes drugs and really does poke a lot of fun at the American training system, which was exactly the same. The Russians say, you know, your athletes take drugs and your athletes use the best technology. Why shouldn't we? And so, but this Ivan Drago is like punching this wall and becoming more and more powerful, and he's clean and jerking more and more weight, and to a point where he's almost this indestructible figure. And so that's part of that sort of paranoia about the Soviets at that time. And Rocky has to go over and train in Russia and like pull carts around and does all this back to basics training, which is awesome. He's a completely ripped up, cool dude, and he's got his trainers there. And then they go to fight, and Ivan Drago is trying to beat Rocky down, and Rocky's sort of standing up to him, and he's getting his face smashed in usual fashion. And Ivan Drago cannot beat him, round after round after round. And eventually Rocky wins. And Gorbachev, played by someone else, stands up and cheers Rocky as the people's boxer. And what we realize is that Rocky has actually been representing socialism, and Ivan Drago has been representing capitalist oppression. And that's why Rocky becomes a hero of the Soviet Union, because he goes back to basics, and he represents this sort of feudal past of Russia and the inability to be downtrodden by any sort of oppressor. So, very interesting movie. And so, it's a montage. The YouTube video is a montage, and I think that it applies to you students, and all of us as students. We are developing, we're becoming more and more strong, and we're becoming this unstoppable force that can shake other people in their boots. And I'm hoping that this course that you're doing now contributes to your development and to your own personal 80s montage of your life. But also what we see, as I mentioned before, is an ideological element to Ivan Drago's training. And he's being trained as much in the Soviet ideology, and he's been trained to represent the Soviet ideology as much as training his body for boxing and for combat. He's also training in representing a certain ideology. So he's embodying communist ideology. And also, equally, it could be argued that as business students within our particular institutions, we are embodying certain values, certain managerialist values, certain corporate values that we'll take forward into our business lives. So we've seen our accounting education is as much about learning technical skills and how to analyze costs and allocate revenues as it is about how we should be seeing businesses, how we should be making business decisions, how we should be seeing the role of business in society. So much of our accounting education is towards making economically rational decisions that maximise profit, that see people as being costs that should be minimised, that see business units as being valueless unless they make economic return, and pitting people off against each other in a contest for economic returns and economic viability. And that is an interesting way of seeing the world. And it is the sort of way that is fairly dominant at the moment in our entire capitalist planetary system and how to see the world, in terms of economic feasibility, in terms of numbers, in terms of productivity. And that is quite interesting. And I think one of the things in this course is that I hope to achieve is for us to see that ideology that that's been ingrained in us, and that's ingrained in how to see business and how business is taught. And one of the ways that, I mean, most of you guys are not working, and you're students at the moment, but you can even see this particular means-ends rationality, instrumental mind frame when you see your fellow students approach tests and approach learning. That there's a lot of students who study the tests, study for tests, and we've become, or the HSC system, the university system has become increasingly about trying to get the highest grades in the degree, and studying for the test to get the best marks. There's been a loss of appreciation of knowledge for itself and what we're here, the greater reason why we're here. And one of the things I've seen with students that succeed as opposed to those that don't outside of university is that those that have a general passion for learning, and just when you give them something, they just read it and they read everything around it and they just become interested in it. They don't care about the marks, they get good marks, but for them it's just about being in it, being engaged. They're the ones that succeed. They're the ones that get the Booz, the McKinsey, the JB Ware, the JP Morgan jobs. The students that play games, that always try and study for tests, there's a sort of lack of application that employers weed out. If they don't get, they'll eventually see them if they do get jobs. And so what I'm hoping is that I encourage you to take the engaged role, that particularly for this subject, that I'm hoping I'm going to make it interesting enough for you to engage with it as a learning exercise in and of itself, not to get marks. That the marks should represent the engagement that you put in, the passion, the work that you put into the course. So we are looking at current issues in management accounting. That's what the subject title is. And I think we should just start with an example. And the example that we have all got access to, and that I've posted on Blackboard and PDF, is the old Faculty of Economics and Business mission statement. As you know now, we're called a business school. That in itself is a very interesting management accounting phenomenon. Why do we change our name? How does that change our strategy? But at the moment, when I first wrote this course, this is the document I used, and it is a full document of strategic objectives, and I think we'll all make reference to it now, but it breaks down strategy into three main parts.